I spent my whole life giving love, time, money, myself, until one night over a table filled with food I bought, I heard something that shattered me forever. This isn't just a story of humiliation. It's a story of awakening. If you've ever felt invisible in your own home, this story is for you. The crystal glasses clinked as I set the table in the house I had paid for. Jazz music floated through the speakers, Sophia's choice. Not mine. The scent of roast chicken filled the air, seasoned exactly how Ethan had always loved it. I hadn't known Sophia's parents were coming until 3 hours ago, when she texted to let me know the house needed to look perfect, again, at 62. I still moved quickly through the kitchen I'd designed 15 years ago. Back then, Ethan had just graduated college. Sophia wasn't in the picture. They had nothing. I gave them everything. "Mom, where's the good wine opener?" Ethan called from the kitchen. "Second drawer from the refrigerator," I answered. The same question I'd answered 20 times before. In the house he grew up in. My son had become a visitor who couldn't find anything. I heard Sophia's laugh from upstairs, that perfect practiced sound that never reached her eyes. At 35, she was everything I wasn't poised, confident, with an Instagram business coaching career called Sophia Ascends. The doorbell rang. "Mom, can you get that?" Ethan was struggling with the wine. Patricia and Gerald Moore, Sophia's parents, stood at the door in coordinated business casual attire. Patricia's blonde highlights looked fresh, her smile tight as she air-kissed my cheeks. "Cynthia, lovely to see you again," she said, though her eyes were already looking past me. "The place looks cozy." "Thank you for having us," Gerald added automatically. "Of course," I said, taking their coats. "It's my home, after all." Dinner progressed as these evenings always did. I served the food I'd prepared. I poured the wine. I listened as they discussed their lives while Sophia dominated the conversation. "We're thinking of renovating the kitchen next," Sophia said, gesturing with her wine glass. "This layout is so early 2000s. I pressed my lips together. I had designed that kitchen, saved for years to afford those cherry cabinets. "It's a big expense," I ventured. "Are you sure now's the right time?" I knew Ethan had been between jobs for 6 months, though Sophia referred to it as him taking space to manifest his authentic career path. Sophia's smile tightened. "When you have vision, Cynthia, you make things happen." The conversation flowed around me like water around a stone. I got up periodically to clear plates, to bring dessert, to refill glasses. I had become a ghost in my own home, visible only when needed. It was during one such return, carrying a fresh bottle of wine, that I overheard it. "And you are staying here too?" Patricia asked, glancing around the dining room. I paused in the doorway, bottle in hand, suddenly aware of all eyes on me. Sophia didn't miss a beat. "Oh," she said, laughing. "That's Cynthia, our unofficial maid. Keeps the house running." Everyone laughed. Even Ethan. I stood there, feeling the floor disappear beneath my feet. My heart wasn't breaking. It was crumbling piece by piece. "Excuse me," I says, "Ed," my voice steadier than I felt. I set the bottle down and walked slowly toward the stairs. Not one of them, not my own son, bothered to correct her or say. "That's my mother." I closed my bedroom door quietly and sat on the edge of my bed, listening to the sounds of dinner below crystal clinking, laughter rising and falling, the soundtrack of a family I was apparently not part of. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window watching the streetlights across the lawn I still maintained every weekend. I remembered signing those mortgage papers, my name, my credit, my down payment for my parents' life insurance. And now I was the maid. When did I transform from mom to the help? It hadn't been sudden. A slow erosion of respect, Sophia rearranging furniture without asking. My photographs moved from the mantel, my garden beds torn up for a stone patio I never used. I'd given up my master bedroom when they moved in. "Just until we find our own place," Ethan had said. That was 5 years ago. My retirement account had been comfortable before I helped Ethan with his failed restaurant venture. Before I covered Sophia's business expenses, before I paid off Ethan's student loans so they could start fresh, the morning light revealed the truth I'd been avoiding. They would never see me, not as long as I allowed myself to be unseen. The next morning, I made coffee and fed the cat, a temperamental creature Sophia had adopted and quickly lost interest in. When she came downstairs in her yoga outfit, too busy on her phone to even say good morning, I stood there and waited. She looked up eventually. "Did you need something, Cynthia?" I handed her the keys, all of them, the front door, the back, the garage, the mailbox. "What's this?" she asked, her manicured brow furrowed. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. "Good luck with the mortgage," she blinked. What? I walked past her, down the hall. I didn't take anything, just my purse and the coat I'd worn when I brought Ethan home from the hospital. "Cynthia," Sophia called after me. "Where are you going?" "We have that dinner with my clients tonight." I didn't answer. I opened the front door to the spring morning. "Mom," Ethan called from the top of the stairs. "What's going on?" I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. I kept walking. I didn't slam the car door. I closed it gently, because something inside me had snapped, but not in rage or grief. It was clarity. And I knew, for the first time in my life, that I was done. The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was Ethan standing in the driveway, stunned. He had no idea how much he'd just lost. That first breath of freedom came on Interstate 43. My hands had stopped shaking. I turned on the rock station Ethan used to mock me for loving. I drove to Aunt Ruth's apartment downtown, left to me in her will 3 years ago. I'd kept it despite Sophia's persistent suggestions to liquidate the asset. Ruth, my mother's sister, had been unmarried and unapologetic. "Not everyone needs to be half of something to be whole," she'd once told me after my divorce. That first night in the apartment wasn't freedom. Not yet. It was silence thick, echoing silence. The apartment smelled like time. Old floorboards, yellowed wallpaper, a heater that groaned. Days passed. I moved like a ghost. I slept on the couch because the bed frame was broken. I ate peanut butter sandwiches. Ethan didn't text. Didn't email, not a single word. I kept thinking about that dinner, about the way they laughed. I raised that boy alone after my ex-husband left. I cleaned motel rooms at night and stocked groceries at dawn. And when my parents passed, I used their insurance money to buy a house. I never asked for rent. And somehow, I had become the help. I started writing at night in old spiral notebooks. I wrote things I had never said aloud, about how I'd wait for Ethan to say thank you, about how I'd cry in the garage when they'd go out to dinner without me, about how I pretended to be asleep so I wouldn't hear them mocking my TV shows. It was during the second week, while looking for a light bulb, that I found Ruth's old metal trunk. Inside were envelopes, dozens of them, and one in particular that changed everything. It was addressed to me in Ruth's handwriting, dated nearly 30 years ago, shortly after Ethan's birth. "If you're reading this, it means you've come back. And I'm sorry you had to." Inside were copies of hospital forms, notes in Ruth's precise nurse's script, and a photograph of a newborn. Not Ethan. The name on the back read Daniel Hill. Ruth had been a nurse at the hospital where Ethan was born. She'd seen something odd in the nursery, a last-minute room switch, a confusion with the tags. By the time she raised the issue, the babies had already gone home. Years later, she found a document buried in hospital files, a quiet settlement to another family. The Hills. Ethan wasn't my biological son. My hands trembled. I stared at the photo, at the name Daniel Hill, at Ruth's careful documentation. And then something strange happened. I didn't feel grief. I felt free. Not because I didn't love Ethan, but because suddenly all those years of feeling like a stranger in my own life made sense. Maybe that coldness I felt from him wasn't imagined. Maybe we always felt like strangers. I spent the night reading every paper in that trunk. Ruth had kept everything: DNA reports, affidavits, a newspaper article about the Hill family. The father was a literature professor. The mother owned a small bookshop downtown. My real son Daniel had been here all along, growing up just miles away. I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize the woman looking back. but for the first time in years, I wasn't ashamed of her. She was broken. Yes, but she was waking up. I carried Ruth's letter like a live wire, dangerous to touch, impossible to ignore. I didn't reach out to Ethan. I didn't go looking for Daniel. I just existed, trying to understand who I was now. One evening, reading the hospital files by candlelight, I realized the truth. Daniel Hill was born the same night as Ethan, in the same hospital. My real son had been here all along. I felt grief, but not for Ethan. I grieved for the time I could have had with Daniel, the birthday parties, first days of school, scraped knees. All those moments meant for someone else. Yet I didn't hate Ethan. My love for him had been unconditional, or so I thought. But when someone you raise doesn't defend you, doesn't even see you, it forces you to reevaluate everything. It was a Tuesday when I finally pulled myself together. I walked into town and stood across from a little bookstore painted deep green Hills books. He was there, Daniel, tall like me, with my wavy brown hair now touched with gray. He wore reading glasses and moved with a quiet grace as he helped a customer. I stood across the street, heart pounding, and cried silently. I didn't go in, not that day. I just watched, and I returned the next day, and the next. It became my ritual. It wasn't stalking. It was mourning and preparation. While sitting outside the bookstore, I started noticing things. The rhythm of the store, the customers. I started tracking Ethan and Sophia. Too, her endless social media posts made it easy to follow their curated life from a distance. What I saw made me nauseous. Sophia's business was mostly smoke and mirrors, rented office space, paid followers, credit cards maxed out. Ethan had quit his job 6 months ago, manifesting a new chapter. Sophia called it. They were building a house of cards. I started keeping a second journal, this one strategic, dates, names, business filings, public records. I wasn't just grieving anymore. I was planning. They thought I was gone, but I was about to remind them exactly who I was. The first time I saw Daniel up close, it was a rainy Thursday. He was restocking the biography section, humming. When he looked through the window, our eyes met. He smiled politely, the kindness you offer a stranger. I walked away quickly, hands shaking, tears threatening. How do you tell someone their entire life started with a mistake? So I went back. I started small. I bought a book. Daniel rang it up himself. Good choice, he said. Hard to find these days. His voice was warm, familiar in a way that made my throat tighten. You own this place? I asked casually. Sort of. My parents helped me get started. They're retired now. Of course they helped. Of course he had support. Not like Ethan, who'd had nothing but my sacrifice, and who turned around and offered me up as a joke. The universe had scrambled the puzzle and left us all bleeding over the wrong pieces. I started visiting the bookstore regularly. Daniel began to recognize me. Back again, he'd say with that easy smile. We made small talk, weather, books, local events. I never told him my name. Not yet. One afternoon, a tall black man came in carrying coffee and pastries. Brought you lunch, he said to Daniel. You forget to eat when it gets busy. Daniel's face softened. Liam, you didn't have to. Someone has to keep you alive, Liam replied, his hand resting on Daniel's shoulder, intimate. Familiar. I watched from behind a shelf, understanding blooming. Daniel was gay, and this was his partner. Liam, this is one of our regulars, Daniel said. She's got great taste in historical fiction. Liam extended his hand. Liam Hill, I help out here when I'm not teaching African American literature at the university. Hill. He'd taken Daniel's name. I shook his hand, feeling its strength. Professor. I thought, educated, kind. The kind of person you'd be proud to call family. Meanwhile, back in my old life, things were shifting. After 3 weeks of silence, Ethan sent one text. Mom, are you okay? I didn't reply. I checked the deed to my house online. Sophia had tried to refinance without my permission. Denied. She couldn't afford the mortgage. Ethan had no income. I could have evicted them immediately, but that would have been too easy. I needed them to feel what I had felt for years, powerless. The first thing I did was call a lawyer, not for revenge, for justice. I wanted the house sold. I had every legal right to it. I'd made the down payment, paid every bill. Ethan had always said, "We'll put it in both our names later." Of course there was no rush for him, I was paying everything. My lawyer, a sharp woman my age, listened without judgment. "We'll file the motion this week." I signed with a steady hand. That evening, I walked past the house. Sophia was on the swing, scrolling on her phone, wine in hand. Ethan was on the couch, playing video games. Their lives were on autopilot. No idea the ground beneath them was shifting. When the official notice went out, my phone buzzed at 9:17 a.m. Ethan. I let it ring out. Later, his email. "Mom, what are you doing? Please call me. Sophia is freaking out." Of course she was. The mortgage was due, and the person they thought too weak to matter was holding the deed. A week later, Sophia called. Her voicemail, "Cynthia, we really need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. Ethan says you're going through something, and we're here to support you, but you're putting our lives at risk. And that's not fair." I listened twice. She called the house hers. 2 days later, Ethan showed up at my apartment, hair uncombed, dark circles under his eyes. I saw him through the peephole. "Mom, please don't do this," he called through the door. I let him sit in the discomfort of being unheard, just like I had for years. My lawyer finalized the paperwork to list the house. Sophia tried to fight it, claiming contribution of value. My lawyer smiled. Let's see her prove it in court. She couldn't, because she never invested in anything but appearances. Word got out. Sophia's parents stopped commenting on her social media. Clients backed out. Her website went offline for maintenance. I just kept showing up at Daniel's bookstore. We had coffee. He recommended a memoir. "It's about grief," he said, "but also forgiveness." I wasn't ready for either. Not yet. At home, I boxed up old photos of Ethan. I didn't throw them out, but I put them away. Because the woman who had spent her life giving everything was gone, and the woman who took her place wasn't angry. She was awake. I hired a business consultant named Darren to audit Sophia's company. What he found shocked even me. Her entire business was a lie. No tax filings for 2 quarters, fake invoices, non-existent clients, photo shoots and rented properties she claimed were home makeovers. "If this goes public," Darren said, "she's finished, financially, professionally." I printed everything and mailed it anonymously to Sophia's parents, the same people who laughed while their daughter humiliated me in my own kitchen. 2 days later, Sophia's Instagram went quiet, her website offline, her workshop canceled. Patricia was seen leaving their house in a rage, shouting on the phone. Ethan called again. "Mom, I don't know what's happening. Sophia's parents aren't speaking to us. Someone sent them documents. Did you do this?" I didn't reply. He was finally seeing her for who she really was, and himself too. That night, Daniel was closing the bookstore when I arrived. "Back again," he said, letting me in. "You should just work here." We sat on the floor surrounded by books. He was cataloging a new shipment. I helped without being asked. "Why do you come here?" he asked gently. The question caught me off guard. I looked at him. He had my eyes. "I like how it feels here," I said. "Like nothing's pretending to be something it's not." He tilted his head. "Me too." In that quiet moment, something settled between us. Not truth, not yet, but a connection. For the first time, I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt seen. Ethan showed up at my door a few days later. "Mom," he said, voice cracked. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside silently. He stood in the middle of the room, lost. "Why are you doing this to us?" he finally asked. "I'm not doing anything to you, Ethan. I'm doing something for me. You're selling the house. My house. I grew up there." "And you gave it away," I said quietly. "You let your wife turn me into your maid. You laughed. You never apologized." He looked at the floor. I thought you were just being dramatic. I didn't know it hurt you like that. That's the problem. You never bothered to know what hurt me. You assumed I'd always be there, cleaning up after you, paying your bills, while you let that woman chip away at who I was. Sophia's not who I thought she was. That's not news to me. His eyes were glassy. I lost everything. I didn't blink. No? You gave it away? I miss you, he whispered. I raised you, fed you, clothed you, sacrificed for you, and you let me be humiliated in the house I bought. He paced the room. So that's it. You just walk away. I retrieved Ruth's envelope. I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to listen. Really listen. I handed it to him. These are your birth records. He read the letter, the files, the DNA test. His face drained of color. This can't be real. It is. You're saying I'm not your son. I'm saying you weren't born to me. But I raised you as if you were. I gave you every piece of me, even when you didn't want it. Who's your real son? I didn't answer. I don't know who I am anymore, he whispered. Now you know how I felt. For years. I walked him to the door. He turned, pleading. Can we fix this? I don't know, I said, but it's not my job to try anymore. And I closed the door gently behind him, not with spite, but with finality. It took me 3 days to decide how to approach Daniel. I practiced in the mirror, in my car, even in the grocery store, whispering lines I could barely finish. I'm your mother. There was a mistake. You've lived a life that wasn't meant to be yours. And so have I. But how do you drop such a truth into someone's life? Daniel was in the bookstore when I arrived. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting golden beams across the shelves. Hey, he said. You came at the right time? We just got rare poetry editions. Actually, I said. I came to talk. He led me to a tiny break room, a kettle on the counter, a mismatched couch, a chipped table. Real life. No filters. I've been coming here for a reason, I started. I figured, he said softly. You're not exactly here for the books. I laughed sadly. No, I'm not. I placed Ruth's envelope on the table between us. 30 years ago, I said, my voice breaking. There was a mistake at the hospital. 2 babies switched at birth. His eyebrows drew together, confusion blooming. My son was given to another family, and theirs was given to me. He didn't speak for a long moment. I raised him, I continued. Loved him with everything, but he didn't love me back. Not really. His eyes searched mine, connecting pieces I wasn't saying aloud. You think I know you are. He read the documents in silence, every second stretched into forever. This is a lot, he finally said. I know. And you're Cynthia. Yes. I don't feel anything. Not yet. You don't have to, I said. I'm not here to ask for a place in your life. I just wanted you to know. Why now? Because I couldn't live with the silence anymore. The truth deserved to breathe. He exhaled hard. I have parents. They raised me well. I know. I would never ask you not to love them. We sat surrounded by books and the scent of old paper and peppermint tea. I felt something I hadn't in years, relief. Not joy, not closure, but freedom from carrying something so heavy alone. I don't know what to do with this, he said honestly. I don't either. I don't hate you. Tears filled my eyes. That's more than I expected. You didn't have to come, but you did. I didn't know how not to, I admitted. Can we take it slow? He asked. I don't want to make this something it's not. I wouldn't ask for anything else. He smiled faintly. You want to stay for tea? I'd love to. We didn't talk about the files again that afternoon. We talked about books and weather, and how he hated wind chimes but loved rain. Though the past sat between us, we had started something. Not a relationship, not yet, but a beginning. The house sold quickly. Ethan and Sophia had to vacate within 30 days. I didn't evict them out of anger, but out of necessity. That house had been my prison too long. I drove past on moving day, Sophia barked orders at the movers, sunglasses hiding her pride. Ethan paced on the lawn, phone to his ear. Their fall wasn't dramatic, but it was complete. Sophia's parents pulled their financial support. Her business lost sponsorships. Her pristine brand was now whispered about. The woman who had laughed at me in my kitchen couldn't afford her skincare line anymore. Ethan tried finding a job, but with no degree or recent experience. Doors didn't open. I didn't celebrate. This wasn't about revenge. It was about consequences. Daniel and I continued meeting casually, coffee, book discussions, shared articles. He asked about my writing once, and I mentioned a memoir I was working on. "You should publish it," he said. "Stories like that matter." He didn't call me Mom, and I didn't expect him to. We were building something by choice, not obligation. One afternoon, Liam joined us for coffee, initially guarded. He softened as Daniel explained who I was, who we were to each other. "You should come to dinner," Liam suggested. At our place, the invitation felt monumental, a door opening to possibility. Their home was nothing like Sophia's showcase lived in, comfortable, filled with books and art, a home built on substance. Daniel cooked something Ethan never learned. Liam opened wine, set the table. They moved around each other with the ease of true partnership. "How did you meet?" I asked over homemade apple crisp. They exchanged a private smile. "I was a grad student," Liam explained. "Daniel's shop had a rare Baldwin edition I needed. He made me pay full price." Daniel laughed. "I gave you my card with the book, after charging me $200 for a first edition." He came back the next day to ask if I wanted coffee. Daniel added, "I was broke after buying that book. Couldn't take him anywhere nice." "The coffee shop next door was perfect," Daniel said softly. "Still is." I watched their easy love, their gentle teasing. This is what a home should feel like. I thought, a haven, not a showpiece. After dinner, in their small garden, Daniel said, "I want to tell them, my parents, they deserve the truth." I didn't voice my fears. Instead, I said, "Whatever you decide, I'll respect it." He studied me. "You're nothing like I expected." "What did you expect? Someone angry? Someone wanting to take me away from them?" I shook my head. "They raised you. They loved you. They're your parents in all the ways that matter." "And Ethan?" he asked. I looked at the stars. "That's up to him. I gave him everything I had. Now he must find his own way." "I always felt different," Daniel admitted, "like I was searching for something. Maybe we're all looking for where we belong," I suggested. When I left, Liam hugged me a brief, strong embrace that held more acceptance than words could express. Driving home, I realized something profound. I wasn't alone anymore. Not because I'd found my biological son, but because I'd found myself. The woman who had disappeared in that kitchen, erased by years of dismissal, she was back. Some nights I wondered if Ethan was sleeping on a mattress or floor, if Sophia still wore her silk robes, if they now saw all they'd ignored before. I didn't miss them. I missed the idea of what we could have been. But grief like that fades little by little, and pride grows when you learn to love yourself more than you loved their approval. I was once a woman who gave until I vanished. Then I became the woman who took it all back, not with rage or fire, but with silence, truth, and the kind of strength they never saw coming.